how do you change jobs when you don't have the qualifications? Well, I'm Marta Hamilton, the founder and head coach of Passion Pioneers, and today I'm going to be taking you through 5 tips to help you when you are trying to change roles when you might not have the training or the certification or the accreditation behind you. Believe me, it can be done. I've done it myself. So a couple of years ago, I wanted to make a transition from marketing into projects. And in projects, change management seemed like a really good area to work in because it harnessed a lot of the skills that I had learned in marketing and through some of the process work that I had done and actually channeled them into project work. And so I did end up going to a new company and getting a role in change management despite the fact that I had no formal training in it, I had no certification, and I had never even gone through a formal framework. Those are things that I learned on the job and actually picked up later. So the thing that is happening more and more as jobs move to automation and as jobs and industries change so fluidly with global competition is that more and more managers are starting to hire on ask. So ask is attitude, skills, knowledge. And good managers, good hiring leaders are going to hire 90% on attitude, 5% on skills, and 5% on knowledge. Why? Why would so much be skewed to attitude? Well, it's because if you've got the attitude, if you've got the passion and the drive and the ability to change and to be agile and to learn new things and to be flexible with what you know and with the approach that you use, you can easily learn the skills and the knowledge on the job. So hot tip number 1 is to find the key skills of the job that you want to move into. So for change management, for example, it was communications, training, business readiness, stakeholder engagement, project work or taking things through a particular project process. A skill set like communications is what I like to call transferable skills, because if you're good at communications, then you can be good at communications in any role, in any company, in any industry, in any country. So it's about finding out of the role that you want to go into, not the technical skills that you need, not all of the things that require you to know or have done that specific task before, but actually bringing it up to a higher level, looking at the core skills that sit underneath that task, and then going, what are those key transferable skills, and mapping that out for that role. The next step is for you to map your transferable skills. So if you've worked in different roles, different industries, different companies, or even in the same company and you've just done different roles over that time, it's about, again, pulling out what are those core key skills that you are really, really good at. What are the things that you've done, not necessarily at the task level, but actually what was the skill sitting behind that task? What skill did you need to use in order to have that task happen? Did you need to be a people leader? Did you need to know how to coach peers or coach your team members? Did you need to know how to analyze information and put together reports? Again, these are things that you could actually take, and you could take them from any role, any company, any industry, any country, and you could apply them in a new way. And then after you've mapped out your transferable skills, then you can kind of put the two side by side. For the role that you want to move into, what are those transferable skills? And for your history and your experience, what are your transferable skills? And then you can kind of see which ones actually kind of fit, and then which ones might not fit, and maybe you have a bit of a gap in the role that you want to go into, but you've got some other really cool skills that maybe are actually irrelevant for this particular role. So as long as, say, about 60-70% of your skills do match up with these transferable skills from the role and the transferable skills from your own history and experience, as long as 60-70% of those you've got a bit of an alignment, then the rest of those things you can position yourself as development areas when you're going for that position. So if you've got heaps of gaps, if a lot of your skills really don't align, you might want to start thinking about, well, what's a stepping stone role that you could take, or what's a secondment that you could take in the meantime in order for you to learn some of those transferable skills that might be current gaps for you. Or you could potentially take a secondment or find a different type of role that will help you get to your dream role. So the fourth step is to update your CV. And it's really important when you do this to put into your CV and make it really clear what role you want. Because your CV might show a lot of other different types of roles or things that maybe aren't actually in the direction of where you want to head. So you need to make a statement, a very clear statement of the role that you want to step into and the role that you want to be going to. The other thing is to really outline and to make really prominent those key transferable skills that are in alignment between your experience and the job role. You know, shout it from the rooftops, make it really obvious for recruiters and for hiring managers that you actually have so many things in common with the role already, despite the fact that maybe your career history doesn't really point that way. And finally, apply. You know, you are not going to find a new role without the qualifications unless you actually start applying for them. So you need to go and actually find the roles, not roles that you are familiar with and comfortable with, but the roles that you actually want to move into. Submit your applications, go for it. Write that cover letter and explain why you want to make that change. Show that passion, show that interest, show that attitude behind you. You will find a hiring manager like I was lucky to have. You will find a hiring manager who actually sees and makes the connections for themselves between your experience and the role that you want to move into, and is willing to give you that support and that coaching and development to kind of close those small gaps that you might have. So you need to start applying to get yourself out there and to start going for the roles that you actually want to move into. You aren't going to be able to do that if you don't start applying. So it's about taking action and starting now. Now, the only time when I'd probably say that the qualifications are really important is probably if there is risk to human life involved, right? So risk to human safety, risk to human life. If you're going into something like medicine or law or coaching like I do, or where you kind of need to have that training behind you in order for you to stay safe and for the people that you're working with to stay safe and for them to get the right outcome and to protect them and to protect yourself and be able to be covered by insurance, then yes, you might need to go and get the qualification, you might need to get the formal training, and that is a very prudent thing to do, both for you and for any organizations that you want to move to.